Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is CoreCat13. I'm a woman with a deep voice, and we are back with the Super Mario 2D Marathon. I really need to rebrand that at some point. Anyway, last time we left off, we completed Super Mario Brothers. It was quite interesting. It was a fun little playthrough, and I sucked ass at the later worlds. I'm raising my microphone in case you hear a noise. I also discovered that the audio was a little too loud, so I turned it down a little bit, so hopefully that's okay with you guys. Let's go around. It's time for Super Mario 2. This game right here is one of my most nostalgic games. I've always been a fan of Super Mario Bros. 2 over the other two games because, you know, everyone talks about those, but I don't know, this game to me was always more interesting just simply because it played so differently from the rest of the series, and that's for a very good reason, which I'm pretty sure anyone that has at least become aware of gaming in the last 20 to 30 years has become aware of it. Essentially, a dude at Nintendo of America thought that the original Super Mario Bros. 2, which you saw as the Lost Levels before I hit start on this game, was way too damn hard and too similar to the original. So, Shigeru Miyamoto, kind of agreeing in that regard that it wasn't perfect for the West, decided to recreate a game called Doki Doki Panic, which already was created by Nintendo. All he had to do was remove the characters from the Dream Factory, and, well, they were golden. They just had to replace all the characters from the Dream Factory with Mario characters, and Bob's your uncle. Sorry, my back is itchy. I know, you absolutely need to know that, but anyway. Another thing that had to change was the story. Essentially, in a dream, Mario was climbing up a thing, and some creature called a Subcon was calling for help. Coincidentally, Mario wakes up after a picnic with Luigi, Toad, and the Princess, and discovers that same cave. Seemed to be a psychic projection, so I guess we figured out one of Mario's secret powers. Anyway, so here's how I'm going to set up this LP. I'm essentially going to go through each one of the 20 or so levels with all 4 characters, which means that I'll play as them 5 times each. So there you go. And of course, the first character on the docket is Mario. God, just hearing this song is just so nostalgic, so good. Although it's kind of weird seeing the opening of the game in bright daylight. That's kind of odd. But we pop on out, and we're suddenly in beautiful grassland. It's quite nice. Now, as you saw, the gameplay of Super Mario Bros. 2 USA is quite different from the original. One thing that is vastly different is the fact that you can't stop enemies in this game. Instead, the way to defeat them is you grab items, or you grab them, and you toss them into each other. It's actually kind of a funny concept if you stop to think about it. This is also the introduction of the POW block into the main canon. Although it's quite debatable whether or not Super Mario Bros. 2 really is canon to the Mario series, as in Japan, they actually did re-release this game. And they called it Super Mario USA. Man, just so many things to talk about, so little time. But yeah, anyway. I guess I can probably start talking about some stories or whatever. Like, shit. So one thing that I always thought was neat about Super Mario Bros. 2 in comparison to the rest of the series, again, really is the gameplay loop. It is so different from all the other Mario games that I couldn't forget about it, and I always loved the enemy design. I loved how unique everything was. I loved the music. I loved the graphical style. just so neat. And actually, one thing I didn't really know at the time was that a lot of the graphics and stuff were based on Arabian Nights, which is very fascinating. And honestly, so many people just, they don't give Super Mario Bros. 2 USA as much credit as they really should, because this is the game that introduced a lot of mainstay characters like Birdo here. By the way, first real trans character, which I think is pretty cool. And she's playing a lot nicer these days, so yeah. God. Man, I don't know why my back is so itchy all of a sudden. But yeah, so a lot of characters actually made their debut in Super Mario Bros. 2. Shy Guys and Sniffits and Birdo and just so much was introduced. Plus, it was one of the games that really made a distinction between the Mario Brothers. For example, Mario 2 USA was the first time in the West that Luigi was depicted as vastly different from Mario, despite them being twins. Luigi was, of course, taller, and he had the awesome power of a scuttle jump, which would later be repurposed for Yoshi. I don't really know why they repurposed it for Yoshi, but hey, whatever. Luigi technically did it first. Although, according to future lore or whatever, it turns out that Luigi actually learned the scuttle jump from Yoshi. So, yeah. One interesting thing about this enemy right here, Phanto, is that in the original Super Mario Bros. 2 on NES, I'm not talking about Lost Levels, by the way, the original, there actually was, I don't know if it was a glitch or whatever, maybe it was an Easter egg, but you actually could kill Phanto by, you can kill Phanto by grabbing exactly 4 cherries and plucking 4 vegetables. If you did that, it would summon a stopwatch, which the stopwatch itself would freeze time temporarily. It's not exactly like it was in a lot of modern games, where the stopwatch instead, what it does is it adds a few seconds to the timer. Now, in the original Super Mario Bros. 2, stopwatches stopped time. And you could actually take advantage of that by, Damn, I just lost my train of thought because I was trying not to die to the fucking Sniffit. Anyway, you pluck a certain number of vegetables and such, and then you were able to grab that 5th cherry, which, as you saw, the 5th cherry summons a Starman, which will temporarily make you invincible, which, by the way, actually did appear in Doki Doki Panic, which I always found interesting. It's like, why the hell is it in Doki Doki Panic? That's just rather bizarre. Anyway. But yeah, so you stop time, grab the star, and then you give Phanto a bonk, and he's gone. So, that's fun. It's a nice little strategy if you want to get rid of that fucker. But it's actually pretty rare to actually have 4 cherries and 4 vegetables in the same area, so yeah, just proceed with caution. And even then, it doesn't always work, so yeah, I don't know what that's about. Anyway. Yeah, anytime I hear that da-da-da-da-da, all I think of is like some Flash games from back in the day. Yeah, I was always bad at this fucking roulette wheel. I've always been bad at the slots, so anyway. Mercy. What else to talk about? I guess we can probably talk about, like, some of my history here with this wonderful little game. One thing I always remembered about Mario 2 was the fact that I would always play it at my friend's house. Because my friend's grandmother actually owned an NES, and yeah, she had the first 3 Super Mario games, and me and him would actually... we would actually play Mario 2 the most often just because it was so different. And we thought it was so interesting, so yeah. Oh, well, there you go. There's that, there's the stopwatch in action. That's interesting. I didn't mean to actually trigger it, but that's actually kind of cool. Actually, I kind of did a stupid move there because the mushroom actually was backwards, but you need a character with good jumping mobility. And Toad is definitely not that. Toad is terrible at jumping. Although actually, if you took that wonderful potion over to that pot there, it actually is the warp zone. It'll, I think, warp you to World 4 if memory serves correct. I'm not really sure about that though. Also, some enemies actually make comebacks in Super Mario Bros. 2. One of them being Sparks, who actually made their debut in the original Mario Brothers. Which I think that's pretty interesting. Also, I love the new backgrounds for Phanto's room. I love that the thing that alerts Phanto that the key has been taken is actually like a little Phanto alarm in the background. That's actually a really nice touch. Hey, I should mention that considering the fact that you can't kill enemies by stomping them, you can actually use them as platforms. Obviously not sparks, because, you know, sparks are, you know, big balls of electricity, and actually a precursor to another enemy that would debut in Super Mario 64 called an amp, who would essentially act as the replacement. And Sparks actually would evolve into a different enemy called Little Sparkies, which actually would become a recurring item in the Super Smash Bros. Series, so yeah. Also, I'm not really sure why there are Lego blocks in this background, that always confused me. I also can't be the only one that thinks that the rocks here kind of look like hamburger meat. That's actually what I've always called it. I just called it hamburger meat. Just because it looks so much like that. Anyway, we're already to the first boss. This is crazy. And I always thought this guy looked like my late cat Sally's toy. Because she used to have this toy mouse that she liked to play with. And it looked very much like Mauser, so I just called it Mauser. By the way, this is not the only time you'll be facing off with Mauser. We'll actually face off with him later, so... yeah, get good at fighting him because he will make a reappearance. And actually, in Doki Doki Panic, he appears 3 times. However, in Super Mario USA, aka Super Mario Bros. 2, you actually get a brand new bad guy. I have never done that in my life. That was pretty cool. You instead get this sentient crab named Clawgrip. And actually, further interesting factoids and stuff. If you play the GBA version, you actually get a new mini-boss. I think. It's either a new mini-boss or actually a completely new boss altogether. I forget if she is the boss of World 3 or if she's a mini-boss in World 4, but there's a new boss called Roberto, who is a robotic version of Birdo. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. I don't know why they didn't include Roberto in Super Mario All-Stars, but whatever. By the way, that thing right there, that's a Panzer. Get used to hating those things because they are frequent enemies and they are annoying. Panzers have the ability to spit fire. They're essentially sapient fire flowers. I don't know, I think that's what I used to call them. I used to call them fire flowers. Because, you know, that's what they are. They spit flowers. And actually, their in-game sprite actually isn't very accurate, which, to be fair, is reinterpreting old NES sprites, so I wouldn't imagine it would be, but... Panzer's actually, like, the base of the stem, or whatever, actually has a face. And not only that, they're green. While the part where they spit fire is obviously the petals, but it's not very easily visible in the sprite art, even on the Game Boy Advance version. Instead, it just looks like it's part of the head. So, yeah, also I love this background, just these hieroglyphs. Which, interestingly enough, would not be the last time Mario would visit kind of Egyptian theming, because it would reoccur in Super Mario Land and the Birabuto Kingdom. Which, by the way, has fantastic music. Much like this game. God, can't wait to get to Mario Land so I can just gush about the music, because I'm just going to say it right now, Mario Land's soundtrack is just, in my opinion, the best of the classic Mario games. Just, it's so damn good. However, Mario 2, in terms of the NES trilogy, actually has my favorite soundtrack. I love the overworld theme, although actually in the NES version, my favorite theme is actually the indoor theme, which I always thought was better than the original underground theme that often played. I'm not really sure why they never remade. I always ask myself, like, why didn't they remake the indoor theme from Super Mario Bros. 2? Little did I know, it was probably just due to the fact that this was just kind of a weird offshoot. Which, by the way, offshoot, I really should just make into a creature. Just so many things I need to make into creatures. But anywho, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of this remix of Super Mario, of the indoor theme here in Super Mario All-Stars. I don't know, there's just something about it that I just don't like. I don't know, maybe it's just because of the way they redid it. Just, I don't know, to me it almost sounds too wacky. If that makes any sense, which, I know, is a weird sentence to say. I mean, come on, it's Mario, it's supposed to be kind of wacky. I don't know, it's just, it never sat right with me. Even whenever I was, like, emulating it, or I was, like, listening to it online or whatever, I never really vibed with it. The one thing I do vibe with really are the enemy designs in this game. The enemies are just so radically different, and I know I keep saying that, but it really does go to show just how different Nintendo's philosophy on game design was back then. Because Super Mario Bros. 2 was so different in so many ways, and honestly, it really was kind of a trailblazer, just showing that sequels could do different things. And it would still work. Because if I recall correctly, this is one of the best-selling NES games, because Super Mario Bros. Itself was one of the best-selling games on the NES. And by no coincidence, Super Mario Bros. 3 was just as great-selling. So, that is that. Wow. I get my size back and then I get bonked on the head by a Shy Guy. How embarrassing is that? Anyway, next round of Birdo. You can tell that she's next level because she is red, just like Mario here. I don't know how I feel about, like, Birdo just being a species or whatever, but it's like, do all Birdos, like, have bows and stuff? I mean, that just kind of goes against the whole character thing, because in Japan, Birdo actually has a proper name, instead of just the species name. It's kind of like Toad, where Toad technically has an official name, it's Kinopio. But in the United States, I guess something didn't translate correctly because Toad just gets called Toad. And it's kind of the same for Birdo. Birdo is called Catherine in Japan, and honestly, I kind of like that. It's a bit more respectful for the character. I did not know that was worth 2 extra lives. That's actually pretty cool. You learn something new every day. But anyway. Now I am Luigi, who honestly is probably the best choice for this stage. I mean, a lot of the time, I'm just going to say this, if you go in the order I'm going in, you are not going to get the ideal character for certain stages. Like, the stage where we just left, honestly, probably would have been a better idea to get Toad, because he is the fastest plucker. But, I don't know. Mario looks okay. Although Luigi right here, because there actually is a, there's a mushroom inside this area, Luigi actually has the easiest time getting up there, so honestly it's kind of ideal. I always love that sound. Da-da-da-da-da-da! Lots of coins. So many coins, man. Can't get enough. And wasn't I just saying, like, back in Super Mario Bros. That I love night stages? I do like the fact that they actually made it night here. That's actually a kind of nice change. I don't recall if the original stage was set at night, but I mean, I'll take this. This is pretty nice. Although I'm not really used to having the Starman, like, outside. I mean, I'm so used to getting the Starman inside of the pyramid, but anyway. I guess, man, there's so much I could talk about with Super Mario Bros. 2, because this is just one of those games that is, like, so nostalgic to me. Probably even, well, actually, I can't say that's as nostalgic as Super Mario Bros., but Mario 2, out of the 3 games, I think I played probably the most. Just simply because of how different it was compared to the rest of them, and I wanted to get good at it because it was just so freaking weird. You know, I'm weird, so I felt a kinship with Super Mario Bros. 2. I don't know. Oh yeah, and by the way, Phanto actually, in Japan, actually has kind of a different sprite, and in my opinion, kind of creepy. Like, it's just kind of this neutral expression of just like, why are you here? Like, I can't really discern if he's, like, upset or if he's, like, he's just kind of disappointed that you took his key. I don't know. Although, interestingly enough, they actually still use that art. Like, of him having that kind of different expression that's much creepier. Which I think is just a holdover from Doki Doki Panic, but still. Also, Cobrats in the, which by the way, that's what the name of the snake is. Cobrats actually have kind of a different design in, like, official artwork, and they just look so happy to be there. They almost look like stoners. It's kind of funny looking. That's not exactly what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to grab it in midair because that's what I usually do, and it's always funny. But anyway, now it's time for Tri-Clyde, who again is another character who looks pretty different, like, in-game as opposed to, like, his official art. Because in official art, he's actually all red, just like the Cobrats. But in the game, for some reason, he's green, like Luigi, which I never really understood. Like, why did they do that? It's fucking confusing. Anyway, let's go ahead and play the slots one more time. And man, we already got a video here. That's crazy. We already kind of hit the time. So I guess after these slots, I will meet you for Worlds 3 and 4. So, thank you guys for watching, I guess. I hope this wasn't, like, too rambly a video. I know it was, but... I'm excited, man. I'm way more excited for this game than I was for Super Mario Brothers, and Super Mario Brothers is pretty much the most nostalgic game to me, so... Yeah, just expect that I'm going to be gushing. Anyway, see you guys later.